Today, we are diving deep into the massive, dramatic shifts, the brand new corporate empires, and those incredibly rapid production updates coming our way for Season 3 of Landman. The story is heading in a completely different direction, so we're going to break down the exact details of what's coming next.
Okay, let's just jump right into the biggest shocker here. By the end of Season 2, one thing became crystal clear. MTEX is no longer the heart of the story. Tommy actually made the decision we all thought was impossible. He walked away. After absolutely everything he survived, he chose to leave the utter chaos of that old life behind so he could build something entirely his own. And honestly, this single decision completely changes the landscape of the entire show.
So, here is our roadmap for today. We'll be looking at Tommy's new empire, Cammy's desperate fight for control, a potential wedding tragedy, Ainsley finally stepping out on her own, and of course, that fast-track Season 3 timeline. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Tommy's new empire, and how he's building it on trust. Tommy is finally putting together a team based on actual trust rather than just pure panicked survival. The absolute biggest shocker here? Cooper, sitting right at the very top as president. Now, Tommy has taken the title of vice president, but let's be real for a second. He's absolutely pulling the strings secretly, negotiating the deals and handling the fires from behind the scenes. And rounding out this new powerhouse, we've got Nate handling the finances, Rebecca stepping perfectly into that COO and chief counsel role, plus Boss, Dale, and Thomas handling the boots-on-the-ground operations. Now, I know what you're thinking. Cooper is a highly risky choice for president, right? Especially given his past mistakes and all those moments where he just looked completely unprepared for real responsibility. But Tommy is intentionally gambling on him here. He's forcing Cooper into a position where he has literally no choice but to grow up fast. It's a massive risk, but in Tommy's eyes, it might be the only necessary path forward. And we can't ignore Ariana's role in this new empire. It is so fantastic to see that instead of just pushing her into the background, the writers are giving her a real vital place in the story. She's stepping up, joining the central office operations team directly at the core of Tommy's new business. Everything just feels really fresh and full of promise. But, that leads us directly to the million-dollar question. Is this shiny new fresh start actually just painting a giant dangerous target on their backs? On the surface, sure, it feels like a clean slate. But remember, this is still the exact same world, filled with incredibly powerful enemies, super unstable alliances, and people watching absolutely every single move Tommy makes. Which brings us to Section 2, Cammy's fight for control, fueled by isolation and pride. Just look at the stark contrast between these two rivals right now. On one hand, Tommy's got this fully staffed, loyal crew built entirely on trust. Meanwhile, Cammy is facing total isolation back at a crumbling MTX following Monty's death. Tommy's out, Nate flat out refused to step in and replace him, and even Galeno made it crystal clear that his loyalty belonged to Tommy, not to Cammy's company. She is entirely, completely alone. And if we look at what's really driving Cammy right now, her core motivations have drastically shifted. Holding on to MTX is no longer just a simple business transaction for her. It's a deeply personal fight. She's driven entirely by pride and her own sense of identity. She feels this overwhelming need to prove that she actually deserves this power, rather than just inheriting it. But as we all know, there's a massive difference between desperately wanting control and actually knowing how to handle it. So she's basically staring down a brutal, definitive choice. Step 1, she can accept reality, admit the ship is sinking, and make the smart decision to just ask Tommy for help. Or Step 2, she can let her pride win out, refuse to let go, fight for control tooth and nail, and by doing so, become Tommy's biggest, most unpredictable enemy in Season 3. If she chooses that second path, things are going to get brutal very quickly.
Moving right along to Section 3, a looming wedding tragedy between Cooper and Ariana. Let's pivot over to Cooper's storyline, which is honestly far from over. Legally speaking, sure, the situation regarding Ariana's attacker might be neatly tied up, but the behavior of those detectives, that told us a completely different story. It strongly hinted that the people connected to that man, his highly dangerous associates, still hold massive influence. Cooper might have escaped the courtroom, but the real danger out on the streets is probably just beginning.
Yet, despite that lurky danger, on the surface, everything is finally falling into place for Cooper. His relationship with Ariana is remarkably stable right now. They're deeply connected, the new company's launching, and honestly, a wedding between the two of them feels absolutely inevitable at this point in the narrative. Which forces us to ask, is it a little too calm? The suspicious, peaceful buildup feels almost unnatural for this universe. It brings up a terrifying thought. Does this sudden stability mean we are being set up? Are we heading straight toward a brutal, heartbreaking tragedy right at their wedding? You know what they say about the calm before the storm. It's a classic indicator that something terrible is about to go down.
Let's look at Section 4. Ainsley steps out and finds her identity.
It's about time Ainsley finally got the character evolution and depth she truly deserves this season. Her evolution is really being driven by her moving away to college. By physically relocating, she's stepping right outside that massive shadow cast by her family, so she can figure out who she really is. For the first time ever, she's no longer defined by her mother's ongoing drama. She's getting the right environment to finally become her own standalone person, and it feels like there is a ton of untapped depth to her character just waiting to be explored.
And finally, Section 5, the fast-tracked Season 3 timeline.
All right, to wrap up the information in this explainer, we absolutely have to look at the incredibly fast real-world production updates. According to director Stephen K., episodes are reportedly being edited while filming is still happening. They are aggressively pushing this production forward, completely overlapping the filming and editing phases, which drastically cuts down the normal turnaround time we'd expect between seasons.
So, if everything stays on this highly aggressive schedule, here is our timeline. With simultaneous filming and editing happening right this very second, we could very well see an official teaser drop in just a few weeks. And all of this points to a projected Season 3 release date as early as November 2026. They are moving much faster than usual, meaning we won't be waiting nearly as long as we originally thought. As we wait for that fast-approaching release, I really want to hear your theories on all of this. Look at what's happening with MTEX. Do you think Cammy's intense pride and her total isolation are pushing her straight into becoming the ultimate villain of this story?
And finally, considering those very real enemies still lurking in the shadows of Tommy's new empire, is Cooper actually going to get a happy ending with Ariana, or are we marching inevitably toward a devastating tragedy at the altar? Think about how these structured elements are colliding, and let me know how you see all the pieces falling into place.